to call to order the Enfield Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Agency meeting for Tuesday, September 6, 7 p.m. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Fire evacuation procedures. In the case of an emergency, there's a door in the back of the auditorium. You can also take this door and then take a left down the stairs and away from the building. Roll call, please.
Donna Corbin-Savinsky.
Here.
Virginia Higley here. Robert Hendrickson.
Here.
Kevin Zorda.
Here.
Nancy Martin.
Here.
Ann Collins.
Here.
Phil Kober.
Here.
Okay, I'd like to note that Phil Kober has been made a full member as of August 29th Town Council meeting. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Georgie, could you introduce our secretary?
Oh, she was here at the last meeting, too. This is our new recording secretary, Sandy.
Hi.
Hey, Sandy.
Hi,
Nice to
Sandy.
meet you. Sorry about that.
Sandy.
Yes, it's Sandy. Okay.
She looks like a Jennifer.
Yeah. Next on the agenda is public participation. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak regarding items not on the agenda? Again, anybody want to speak regarding items not on the agenda? And one last call, items not on the agenda. Thank you. Correspondence. We had an email on July 21st, seems like so long ago, regarding the Cacuac meeting for 2022. It's going to be held on October 29th, so it's a great meeting. Just watch for more information on that. There was also a training today.
Yeah, CCM.
Yeah, from CCM, and that was on ethics and accountability and conflicts of interest. That was a good meeting.
Very good.
Yeah, it was a very good meeting. And we also have a meeting scheduled, just a reminder, for September 15th with our town attorneys regarding FOI. So hopefully everybody's going to make that. Next on the agenda is agent comments. To my left, anybody? To my right?
None.
None?
If anybody missed the CCM meeting today, the Zoom meeting, you can go online and get their slide presentation. It was well worth it. Very easy to understand, in-depth procedures. It just was well
Yeah, it
worth
was
the
good.
effort.
Yeah, it was a great one. Next agenda is approval of minutes from July 19th.
I
So
move that we approve the minutes for Tuesday, July 19th,
Second.
2022.
Any discussion? Can we have roll call? Excuse me.
Donna Corbin-Savinsky?
Yes.
Virginia Higley, yes. Robert Hendrickson?
Yes.
Kevin Zorda?
Yes.
Nancy Martin?
Abstain.
Oops.
Ann Collins?
Yes.
Phil Kober?
Yes.
6 in favor, 1 abstain, motion passes. Next is our town attorney report. I don't think we had one, right?
Yeah, we did.
Did we? Oh, I put it in the wrong spot. Yeah, we do have our town attorney report. It's dated August 23rd, giving us just a little update on our cases.
Yep.
And I want to thank Attorney Elsden for coming to our last meeting on July 19th and having the executive session with us. She came promptly after we, requested that, and she was very helpful and knowledgeable. Got us up to speed. There's no continued public hearings. New public hearings. We had listed IW 661, 18 and 36 Mullen Road, an application for outdoor storage area at 18 Mullen Road, and an installation of access drive at Wetlands Crossing at 36 Mullen. That application has been withdrawn as of August 17th, so we will not be having a public hearing. Old business, we have none. New business is a IW 662, 197 and 199 Weymouth Road, application for the expansion of the Enfield Fire District, District 1, Station 2, Station 2 Building Commission, applicant Enfield Fire District 1, owner map lot 69, lot 232 and 313. Hi. Could you please state your name and address for the record?
Yes, for the record, I'm Wilson Alford Jr. I'm registered as a registered professional engineer and land surveyor in the state of Connecticut. Our office is in Windsor, Connecticut. One aside before we get started is probably the thing that you wasted most time was telling the audience where the fire escape was.
This is true.
The audience behind me is the
Fire department.
fire department.
Well, just in case.
Working in conjunction.
I assume the commission probably didn't need to know.
Yeah, we didn't either.
We're here on behalf of the fire district. If I could see sheet number 2 is probably the best to do most of the talking from. So I get sheet 2 or do you do sheet 2? Just scroll down, I'll get sheet number 2 and then talk from that. All right. Do what I want to. All right. The fire district has not had an addition to the building in many years, and a lot of the interior of the building is outmoded. And so what they're proposing to do is to put an addition on the building. As a result of that, there's some additional pavement, there's some drainage, and the drainage is within, and some of the material storages are within the upland review area. And we're here tonight to ask you for a permit for those activities. The property, as we're looking at it, the bottom of the sheet is Weymouth, north is to the top. The light yellow, which is here, is the existing building, and the proposed addition, the pavement goes around sort of like this at the present time, and there's a proposed addition which is going to go in this location here. There's new parking which is located on the west side of the building, and then beyond that is a swale and a detention basin which is located in this location, and then there's a pipe which goes out of the detention basin and goes down to this location. Now, the wetlands are located sort of tracing here, the northwestern corner of the piece of the property. The upland review area is located around here, and one of the first items which we're doing on the site, at least as far as an erosion and sedimentation control measure, is we're going to construct the detention basin, which is located here, the outlet structure, and the pipe, which goes to here. And the detention basin will be a sedimentation basin during construction. There'll be a different standpipe that's put on the end of it to retain the water in it. So during construction, the main part of our erosion and sedimentation control will be the detention basin, which is located here. The pavement is located through here, around through here, and what we have is a sheet flow off of the pavement. There's grass, a grass swale, which is located here, and there's grass which is located all around the area. So the sort of first treatment of the water as it leaves the proposed site would be to run through the grass before it gets to the detention basin. And so for erosion sedimentation during construction, we had the sedimentation basin, and the pipe is installed first. After construction, any sediment which is on the parking lot, which is, I would anticipate, perhaps not to be a lot because it's fairly flat, but the sediment would probably be caught in the first, several feet of grass before it goes there. During construction, we also have on the construction entrance pad so that the sediment does not go out onto the Weymouth. So that, and we do have an area which is located here, which is sort of at the northwest corner. What happens is that, the wetlands are located here. The topography of the property sort of goes from where the cursor is at the west corner of the property, or southwest corner, goes down towards the wetlands. And there's a low area which is located in here, which is sort of adjacent to where the woods are. And what we were proposed to do is to have this area as a stockpile area for materials that are either excavated as the grass or other areas which are on the site. They be stockpiled in this area during construction, and then we will be needing some topsoil which would be placed back around the site after construction, and we were proposed to leave the other material here. And what the reason for that is that the fire department doesn't just operate inside of the building. If you go by any firehouse on any Monday night, you see the training that's taking place. And they use the whole property for their training at different times. This is one of their areas that they have out in the back. And by leaving this material here, spreading it and topsoiling it, it helps to improve and enlarge the area that's out there, increases and has a larger, flatter area there for their training. So that I guess we did not put in an alternative, but I will at least just sort of run over one very quickly at this point. We are down asking for the outlet to be not into the wetlands, but fairly, close to the wetlands. And the reason we're asking for that is that the elevation of the wetlands is, I think it's about 161, if I remember correctly. And the outlet of our pipe, I probably ought to check that before I.
126.
What?
126.
Okay, I'm dyslexic. 126. So the elevation of the wetlands is about 126, and the pipe we're discharging at about 126.1. And so the pipe is down close to the elevation of the wetlands, and the reason being is that they are very erodible soils. We could, if we did pull the pipe back, so it's still within the upland review area, but further to the south, it would be discharging at an elevation of about 128. And my concern is that if we discharge the water at 128 and the wetlands are down here, the soils are very erodible, and what they're going to do is erode from the end of the pipe down to the wetlands. So we're asking permission to get there because for the long term, there'll be a lot less potential for erosion. We're not in the wetlands, but we're down close to the elevation of the wetlands so that we won't have erosion between the end of the pipe and the wetlands. And that would be if you're, I don't view this as being extremely significant activity. If it were, we'd have to look at the alternatives. But that would be one alternative. But from a wetlands protection point of view, the long term would be it'd be detrimental to the wetlands. So, but after construction, the detention basin is sized. There'll be a different outlet which is installed at that point, and it'll then act as a detention basin so that the flow of water after development will be less than the rate of flow before development, and it'll retain it there. The soils are fairly permeable. They're a sandy material, but we have not taken into account any of the possible infiltration that would take place between the edge of the pavement and the outlet. So my assumption is, for a storm like today, which is a fairly long storm, a lot of the water will just go into the ground before it leaves the property at all. So so I think for the short term during construction, we have a sedimentation basin to keep the sediment from going into the wetlands. We have silt fence around the stockpiles around the basin, and we have a construction entrance pad from keeping the sedimentation on the site. After construction, the detention basin will keep the peak rate from increasing off the piece of property, and because of the way that we have the sheet flow off the parking lot, I wouldn't expect very much sand to even make it to the detention basin. But we have notes on the drawing that talk about inspecting it once a year and, if necessary, cleaning the parking lot. So, and in sort of an overview, that's our proposal. If there are any questions, we'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions, Kevin?
A couple of questions. So on the plans, it does say where this area you want to spread this material, construction topsoil and surplus material. What is surplus material?
Surplus materials are probably the surplus from the parking lot. We have an existing parking lot. We're going to tear up and we're going to put it over there.
Yeah, so is the parking lot where that new building's going to be?
Yes, the
Yeah,
parking lot
that's the
is
current parking
more or
lot,
less
right?
there.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
The design we have is not much similar or dissimilar from what exists now, where the building is there.
Yeah.
We're proposing the building and the parking over here. If you go out there now, you've got a building and you've got
parking right
pavement that
there.
runs around there.
Yeah, yeah. that's
So
okay.
there may be some, pavement. There may be some sub-base. The owners of the property, the commissioners of the fire department, many of them have, construction experience and are fairly hands-on, so that if the concern is whether there'd be any future settlement, my assumption is they're going to take care of it and make sure that they don't have any problem with that.
Yeah, I'm not so worried about the settlement, but pavement materials in the wetland area or the upland review, that concerns me a little bit.
They're pretty well inert.
Yeah.
I mean, the water that we're going to have going there is running over pavement now.
Well, you're not going to dig up the pavement and put it over there.
That's what he
There,
said.
there would be some.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of it that goes over there, but what I'm saying is that for the most part, pavement is fairly inert. I mean, water runs off of it all of the time, and it's the design of it is so that the oils, I can't even say oils, they're a lot heavier than
Yeah.
Yeah.
the oil that you picture pouring into your car. But the tars that are there are, they put the pavement down at, whatever the temperature is, fairly hot.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
it cools, the expectation is, you're not going to get very much that leaves it.
All right. The other concern I have, I know firemen like to wash their trucks quite a bit. Is there any concern with like firefighting foam getting into wetlands? Because that could be a potential.
I will not even turn around and ask
That-
them.
does that happen?
My expectation is they operate on whatever are the standards that the DEP tells them. And part of their, Monday night training is to bring out the people who don't know and tell them, this is how you handle such and such a material.
Yep.
And so,
They must have special drains.
And it-
Yeah,
and it-
I'm just concerned because it's going right from this detention basin where it's going to collect
Right.
into that wetland.
I'm assuming that whatever the guidelines are of the DEP,
EPA, yeah.
Whoever,
Whatever it is.
that they observe those. And if I have some head shaking behind me,
No, they're laughing. So, like, how does this guy come up with this?
I would just like to go back to
I've
Kevin.
spent quite a bit of time with them, so I know.
Sorry, I would just like to go back to Kevin's original question. So are you saying that that tar will be ground in, so it'll be fill? Or are you
It's
saying
good-
it'll be a solid
It's
surface?
not going to be a solid surface.
Okay.
It's going to be broken up into pieces that are small enough because
That it'll be part of the
they're
landscape.
the contractors, they're the owners, and they're in for the, the
Long haul.
long haul of the fire district. And
Do you want to come up to the
You
seat?
come up.
Yeah, Tom, if you want to. Here's one of our contractors.
Hi, could you state your name and address for the record?
Sure. Tom Burnham, Lieutenant Enfield, live at 39 Oliver Road. Just so, as far as the asphalt goes, any of the asphalt that's on the property that we take out, it's a free disposal at the sites that we go to when they repave. So they take it, they reclaim it, and they actually blend
Do
it back
whatever with
into
it.
the mixes. So any of the asphalt that's there now will be removed
okay.
from the property.
There we go. That's good.
Perfect, thank you.
That's
That's a good answer.
It's free disposal, so that's where it goes.
Okay, that's a good answer.
I
Yes.
just have a quick question.
Sure.
If you don't mind, since the contractor is also sitting with the applicant. The location for your stockpiling of materials, why did you pick that location? Because there are other spots on site that aren't in the upland review area and that are
That is
closer.
It is a field that we have as a training area out in the back. It's an open field. It's wide open right now. We actually cut the grass on it and do it. It's a low spot in that area that is just there. And it's an area that we can put it, we can put a fence around it, and it's out of the way.
So you're going to have trucks drive back and forth to the upland review area to dump?
The other areas are more improved.
There's a gate that goes through, and we drive out there with our trucks anyways now.
Okay.
It's our training area.
So-
We go out there with our trucks and we
Okay.
actually train out there.
And then when these materials are removed, you're using dump trucks to remove them? Like how are the materials to be removed?
Yeah, it will be the equipment that goes through, but it's something that we drive on a regular basis anyways. 'cause
With
it
the
is a training
fire
area.
trucks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're going to be using dump trucks this time, right? To
Yeah,
bring
we'll
the
be
pot
dumping into the fire
materials.
truck, But yes.
I'm just concerned because I didn't realize that before. Because dump trucks, you never know if they're leaking oil or anything while they're going, and you didn't want to think about maybe putting it closer to the construction
There'll be
site.
nothing leaking oil on this site.
I see.
We make
You're very
sure-
confident.
We We make sure that doesn't happen.
Okay, you're very confident. And I just have one more question for Skip. How do you know that those soils over there are erodible?
I've dug holes in them.
Because I didn't get a soil report with the application.
No, I've dug holes in them, and they are a fine, sandy, silty material. I dug some test holes out there in the area where the swale is and the detention basin.
Do you do soil science work or anything like that?
I've been digging holes for septic systems for 55 years. And I did pull down the web soil survey and looked at that.
Okay.
And so they had
I
that
was
as
just
a-
curious how you were able to determine that without a soil scientist.
When it rains, all the water runs off.
What, so what are you gonna do after the soil's spread? Are you gonna put down a
Grass or?
seed, some
There'll
sort
be
of seed?
topsoil and seed. That's, whatever happens out in the area in the back, it's going to be a staging area where the material's put out there. Some is going to come back and going to be needed to put around there. The rest of it will be, flattened out and will be topsoil and seeded.
Do we have any of that information? I don't think so.
I didn't see any.
Yeah.
Formal or more developed.
What?
The rest of the areas that are around the east side of your property.
Yeah, everything else that's on the property, the stuff that's on the right side of the property
Look on the cover sheet.
in the back is all trees or, whatever towards the right side of the building is all the field and
Yeah.
pavilion. And then the front is more, it's all grass and all that. The back area is more just a rough cut. I mean, I hate it a few times and things like that. It's just more of a rough field.
But the other areas have pavilions, softball, they're areas that are flatter to begin with and have, softball fields, training facilities that are all level to begin with, which is why that area, Georgie, was picked on the west side. It's a rougher area, and this will benefit the fire district because it'll flatten it out and they'll be able to, better utilize that area.
Thank you.
Ask a couple questions about the Windsor Sandy Loam, too. You're all in that. How do you find that behaves for compaction when you drive your trucks over? That's that fine sandy stuff that won't retain more than a 3 or 4% slope without moving?
All got the grass on it, and we don't have any problems with it when we drive on it.
So you don't sink in?
No.
And it does grow the grass
Yeah.
effectively?
It grows something.
There's quite a bit of topsoil there, which is, in this particular case, it's reasonably stable because throughout the area which is to the west, they've been driving cars on it,
To the west?
as you're looking at the site.
Right.
The left-hand side of it there,
So when it's vegetated, it maintains the swales okay? But you know that when it's dug into, it's going to have erosion at as low as 3% slopes?
those are the lower soils. All right, the upper topsoil seems to be stable enough,
Seems.
so.
Okay. It's one of the dominant soil types in this area.
Yeah.
So I was just curious how it holds up with truck traffic.
We've actually had training out there with loaders, cement mixers, and everything else, and it's held up fine.
That's good. That's my-
Yeah, I think we need to make sure we specify,
Proposed layout and landscaping.
yeah.
Yeah, send L1, Kevin,
Yeah.
right here.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. I want to know what grass seed they're using. See grass.
Yeah, I'll see grass. Yeah, it's just plants.
Yeah, I think we need to specify what kind of grass is used, like a transportation mix or something that comes up fast,
There's a wetlands mixed for grass.
or,
There's a wetlands mixed for grass
Yeah.
that they could use.
it's gotta be something fast, though.
Yeah, it should be on, probably on sheet 8. Here with it. 8 should have the, I don't know if got the grass mixtures or not, yes. 8 is vegetative cover schedule. And it has both, the permanent seeding schedule, or seeding mixtures, and it's got the temporary seeding mixtures. And the temporary is, 100% rye. And the others have, some bluegrass and some fescue in it.
Where are you saying that?
And sheet, well, it's notes 3. I think it's the 8th sheet. It's the last sheet.
Yeah, it just says permanent seeding. Oh, here it is. Lawn areas, yeah, see, it's 45% Kentucky bluegrass.
Oh, right.
It's gonna be 3 weeks before that germinates.
Yeah.
Well, the temporary is the rye.
Yeah,
Oh, that's what would be,
yeah,
if once the stockpiles are out there, they would be seeded with that until, they're needed to bring back in.
okay, and if it's too late, you're gonna put blanket or fabric.
Yeah.
When you gonna start?
Depends on how many fires there are in town.
All depends on permitting and everything else.
Yeah, okay.
And once everything's done, we have permits and we still have to go for the money, so.
Oh, okay.
Do you have deer, do you see deer out there at all?
Probably.
Not as many out in that field because the fences are very tall.
Just because you have the arborvitae, the emerald green arborvitae are deer candy.
Grass mixes.
Yeah, it's fine.
He's our grass person.
Plant
Plant person, plant person.
It's all right.
His name sounds like a grass.
Zoysia?
From here, I can't see very well.
What did you cross off the?
It's the erosion and control narrative, that line, because I did see it in there. Okay,
I did see the maintenance was like yearly or
Yeah.
something
yeah.
on the plans. Oh, that part she crossed off. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
It's actually already on the suggested resolution, but snow stockpiling. Where do you intend to put
Jeremy,
that?
you're going to push it to the west, aren't you?
I push it off to the side. I do snow plowing there, so basically I just angle my plow to the left and throw everything to the left, and it's just a single windrow down the whole side of the parking lot.
Of the new one, same thing.
It'll be
So
the same thing,
So it'll go into that
It'll
retention
go into our
basin.
retention basin?
It's just gonna go it goes to the field. It basically, it will go to the whole side of the driveway and it slowly melts into the Enfield and all that.
We also have shown, because that's where the water is sheet flowing off.
Yeah.
If there's too much snow, we've shown a couple areas there where we've reinforced the turf a little bit. So if it's necessary, they could at the low points, push a slot through, and then the water could continue going off the parking lot. Because right now that it's designed so that the water sheets off to the west.
Right.
If there is too much snow and it gets so, he asked that we've reinforced the grass so he can drive on it and punch a hole through. So, at the low points, there are a couple low points.
Okay. Usually we like to have it indicated on the plan where you're going to do snow stockpiling. Like if we get,
We didn't show the snow stockpile,
No.
but we made a provision if there's too much.
I've never had to stockpile snow there, so.
okay.
They got quite a bit of space, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah, it's pretty open field.
Pretty open.
It's just, it's on this.
We
I
can,
noticed it. So
we can show that as.
just make a note where if.
Where it's gonna
Sure
go,
that
that's
Tom
all.
reads it.
That's all. All right.
Did they fix the site plan, Georgie, where it said Town of Windsor?
I have not received revisions
We
yet.
didn't do that.
Okay.
And we won't change the, where it says Windsor Soils.
Oh, no,
That's allowed.
that's allowed.
I do want to point out, I did catch a couple more Town of Windsors here and there, so just in general, the final plan should reflect
Yeah.
Town of Enfield.
No problem.
Yeah,
No worries.
right,
Yeah, you have that on there, yeah.
yeah.
Excuse me, Commission. I did make a suggestion for a couple other site specifics that I just want to reiterate really quickly.
Sure.
I originally had set under site specific condition number 4 that the final plan should include an erosion and sedimentation control narrative on sheet ESC-1. We're used to seeing the narrative on the sedimentation control sheet, not on a separate sheet. And the applicant had informed me that they have a separate narrative for that on one of the note sheets. And I did see it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, and also the normal condition, like we have basic conditions that we use for every application that comes through our commission. One of the basics that you pointed out earlier was number 6, prior to the start of construction. The permittee shall submit a plan noting plant type and number of plants to be placed in affected area. Usually we don't get that information with our site plan applicants, but you did supply us with one. So if, with the commission's approval, we can scratch that condition from the list of conditions. And that's all I have.
Anybody have any other comments, questions, concerns? No? Okay.
I will make a motion to approve IW number 662, 197, and, no, am I? Yeah.
Nope. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, in 197 and 199 Weymouth Road, application for the expansion of the Enfield Fire District Number 1, Station Number 2, Station 2 Building Commission. Applicant Enfield Fire District Number 1, owner map 69, lot 232 and 313, R33 zone, with the following site-specific conditions. Number 1, the final plans will have the revised and corrected stormwater ordinance for the town of Enfield instead of the town of Windsor. Number 2, the applicant will be allowed to apply for agent approval for the future maintenance of the detention basin and swale. A maintenance plan shall be included on the final plans for the detention basin and the swale.
Is that necessary since we have that on the drawings anyways? We have the maintenance schedule for the detention basin on the drawings, and whether that's necessary or not. That's one of the things which was not on the erosion and sediment, but was on the note sheet.
It's a standard staff recommendation, just in
Yeah.
case, maybe one day one year you have a lot of flooding.
Yeah.
You might have to do some dredging or pond maintenance like that. It's just to protect you if you have to come back in the future. That way you don't have to go through this entire process again.
And then number 3, final plans must reflect the snow stockpiling area.
Second.
Any discussion? No discussion? Can we have roll call, please? Oh, wait, so she said Town of Windsor is mentioned a few times, so just
Yeah, it's, yeah,
make sure.
yeah, final
Okay,
points, yeah.
good. Okay, go ahead, sorry.
Donna Corbin Zabinski.
Yes,
Virginia Higley, yes. Robert Hendrickson.
Yes.
Kevin Zorda.
Yes.
Nancy Martin.
Yes.
Ann Collins.
Yes.
Phil Kober.
Abstaining.
okay. 6 in favor, 1 abstain, motion passes. Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Give 'em a minute. So next on our agenda is the election of officers and review of bylaws. This is held on an even number of years, every second even number of years, which is 2022. So it's an organizational meeting, shall be held in September of even-numbered years. At the organizational meeting, bylaws shall be reviewed and elections held. The minutes of the organizational meeting shall include the bylaw review and elections. The nomination of candidates shall be made from the floor, and election of officers specified shall follow immediately thereafter. Alternates may not nominate, be nominated, or vote upon officers. I don't believe we have any alternates here today.
We don't have any.
We don't have any, period. No, we have one. Well, candidate receiving the majority of votes and of those present and voting shall be declared elected and shall serve for 2 years or until his or her successor shall take office. Whenever vacancies occur, offices shall be filled by election procedures as noted above. All terms of offices shall terminate at the next organizational meeting. Resignations of officers shall be consistent with procedures for resignation from the agency noted in Article 4. So that's the rules for elections. The meeting's already called to order. We already have done roll call. Is there any nominations for chairman?
I'd like to nominate Donna Corbin Zabinski. I think she runs a very good meeting, and she's always available to answer any of our questions.
Second.
I move that nominations be closed.
All in favor? Closing nominations?
Aye.
Okay. Can we have roll call?
Well, are you going to do each one individually?
Yeah, yeah.
Donna Corbin Zabinski.
Well, yes.
Virginia Higley, yes. Robert Hendrickson.
Yes.
Kevin Zorda.
Yes.
Nancy Martin.
Yes.
Ann Collins.
Yes.
Phil Kober.
Yes.
Motion passes, all in favor. Do we have a nomination for vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Kevin Zorda for vice chair. He's very knowledgeable and attends regularly and is a great asset to our commission.
I'll second that nomination.
Any more nominations?
I move that the nominations be closed.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Can we have roll call, please?
Donna Corbin Zabinski.
Yes.
Virginia Higley, yes. Robert Hendrickson.
Yes.
Kevin Zorda.
Yes.
Nancy Martin.
Yes.
Ann Collins.
Yes.
Phil Kober.
Yes.
6 in favor, motion passes. 7 in favor, motion passes. Sorry, I can't count. Now for secretary, do I have a nomination for secretary?
I will nominate Ginny Higley. She's been on many of our commissions for a long time, very knowledgeable, and I think she'll do a great job.
Thank you. Do I have any other nominations?
Second that.
Okay. Any other nominations for secretary? No. Okay, want to close nominations?
I'll make a motion to close nominations for secretary.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Can we have roll call, please?
Donna Corbin Zabinski.
Yes.
Virginia Higley, yes. Robert Hendrickson.
Yes.
Kevin Zorda.
Yes.
Nancy Martin.
Yes.
Ann Collins.
Yes.
Phil Kober.
7 in favor, motion passes. So we're maintaining our,
Thank you, everyone.
yes, thank you very much, everybody, for your
Congratulations.
comments. Thank you.
I get to memorize everything again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, don't you? see, that's how it's done. That's how it's done.
Good luck on your campaign. Next is the review of our bylaws.
I have something that I noticed on page 4 of 7, Article 9, Order of Business. We need to reflect the actual agenda, the way it's given to us each meeting on the bylaws, so that it's one and the same.
Right. It's
There's
kind of
some
not the same
differences
order.
there.
and
Yeah.
different-
Yeah, and I think, actually, I had a conversation about this, that I think our agenda changed in between
Yes.
this
Yes.
process, so we should just update it so that it matches.
I was wondering if we could say it's an example of an agenda, not
Oh, yeah.
that it,
Yeah, I was going to make reference to that just because, we never know
changes.
what we're going to have. It changes. I saw an old draft from when one of my predecessors was here, and I kind of like the format that she did, where she wrote new business, and then she would specify which is which. It kind of helps the public, too, because they have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So I can definitely put, how would you like it to say, like an exemplary type of agenda, subject to change?
Example of agendas for me, a meeting agenda. Example of
meeting agenda.
Right.
Yeah. So it's not.
Yeah.
And then
It does say, unless otherwise determined by the chairperson,
Right.
so it can be changed.
Right.
so you still want me to change it?
Well, I think
I
it's
do call-
significantly different,
Yeah, it is.
Call the chair every Friday.
right? I think it would be better just to have it more closely
Okay,
related.
what would you like the skeleton to look like then?
Kind of our current one.
Yeah.
Yeah, more like what we get in our packet.
Okay, so I'll revise it and then I'll make I'm sure you have more
Yeah.
changes you want to add. So for the next meeting, what I'll do is I'll type up a new draft and I'll highlight all the changes and you can vote on those changes at the next meeting.
Okay, that was the only one I had.
What I did like on here on F, it says agents correspondence, and it says site visit updates, if any. That's kind
She's
of
gonna do.
Okay.
yeah.
like that idea.
Okay.
Kind of gives them,
Yeah,
idea where that goes.
yeah.
There was one thing I did notice on, where it is.
Can I go back to this one?
Yes, yeah.
So the other one is, I don't know what Lauren's title is. So like it says, and report of director.
Oh,
of
I was
Develop-
just going to reference that. All the things that say Director of Development Services or Town Manager's Office are going to be changed to the Director of Planning / Planning Department.
Perfect. And then I did like one other thing, which we don't have on here, is just before adjournment, if we could add other business. Because sometimes at the end of the meeting, somebody say, oh, I want to.
Do you want to move it from
Yeah.
above? Okay.
Yeah, because we don't have other business on here.
Do you want to call it other business, or do you just want to say like miscellaneous?
Yeah, miscellaneous is good, yeah.
Okay, so miscellaneous
Yeah.
under the new applications to be received.
Yeah.
Okay.
On page 3 of 7, section 4, where it says section 4, whenever vacancies occur, offices shall be filled by election procedures as noted above. Then it says period, then all terms of offices shall terminate as of the next organizational meeting.
That makes no sense.
No, I guess that's okay because we only have the organizational meetings on even numbered, so it is every 2 years.
Well, it could also reference, say, for example, Commissioner Zordo were to
Yeah.
resign, you'd be able to have another meeting
Yeah.
to elect a new vice president.
Right.
I think that's what that refers
Yeah.
to. It's just not.
No, that second, it was
The
the second
English
sentence.
is weird.
Yeah, the second sentence is throwing me off, but
Would you
it
like
does
to?
make sense.
Would you like to revise the sentence for better reading?
It almost is kind of a moot point because,
Perhaps you could say, when an elective officer gives in their resignation, the commission can.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
Well, I think
you
they
need
have
to.
to,
I
yeah.
think you need to put officer, elected officer there, because that could refer to any
yeah.
of us as commissioners.
Okay,
yeah.
so
I think it's,
I'll come up with a more specific sentence for that section, and you can let me know how you feel about it next meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So page 2 of 7, section 2, the last sentence. Says if any member of the agency is absent or disqualified, the chairperson shall designate an alternate to so act, choosing alternates in rotation so that they shall act nearly equal number of times as possible. We kind of don't really do that.
Where is that?
It's the last sentence in section 2, Article 5.
Oh, Article 5, Section 2.
Well, when we have multiple people in that, we just
Yeah.
haven't had the opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so for
the other-
example,
Just take it.
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I know. But the other thing I was thinking is, I really, sometimes an alternate may not show up, and then all of a sudden they show up, and then the other alternate has been here, every meeting. Yeah.
That's rotating. I
Yeah.
wouldn't take it out because
Yeah.
I think I'm going to say when there are more
It
alternates,
is?
that it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in favor of keeping it, because I think it is just
And tenants in good standing.
between alternates, so you're not just empowering the same one
Yeah.
every meeting.
Right.
Exactly what, yeah.
Okay. Of course, the $100 expenditure, we never, we can just leave it. It's minimal.
Can we bump it?
Can we increase it? Yeah. I don't know what we'd buy, but
Envelopes.
envelopes.
Envelopes. Which, by the way, we have a new secretary. Her name is Jennifer McKenzie. She started on she started last week.
Last week, yeah.
I don't know the date. Last week on Monday.
Yeah,
And she has a lot of secretary experience.
good. Page 3, in section 1, Article 7, yeah. It says the Director of Development or his or her designee shall notify the entire membership in writing, like halfway through. Do we want to say email, include email in that?
Oh,
or-
that was the other one.
Oh, I can also update. I know our regs are kind of like, they're not up to date with today's current technology.
You're right,
age.
right. So I was just wondering-
I will update all those to what we use now, and I'll bold it for you to see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And if you would still like it in writing as well, we can keep that. It's up to you.
Well, you could say writing/email.
Okay.
or-
Yeah, I was going to say, by the time we got the
Paper, it'd be
note,
too late.
the meeting will have been happening.
Yeah. So you could do it either way, but.
Yeah.
Yeah, in section 2, I guess you would want to probably include Zoom meetings and.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
oh yeah. That there is, as you know, there was that. I believe it was a House bill that was passed.
Yes, yeah.
So
So
okay,
you
I'll
could add
include
that
that
in
too. The virtual meetings.
That's most of what I have.
Yeah, those,
It's just a minor thing too, I noticed, I think it's Article 14 on page 7, where it talks about the bylaw amendments. It talks about 2/3, but then it uses the example 4 out of 7.
Right. yeah.
So I'm thinking we just strike that and just leave it as 2/3 vote.
That's a good one,
And
yeah.
then our quorum's 4 anyway,
So, right.
yeah.
Do you want to keep the sentence about abstentions?
That can stay in there. I mean, I think that's like a normal procedural
Okay.
thing where they
Yeah.
can't
Right.
count anyway.
Yeah, so
and
just
I-
say 2/3.
Okay, and then I realized the bylaws weren't signed by the past secretaries in the past, which they should be signed. So once we review them and vote on them, I'll have a signature spot for the secretary.
Okay. That works. Anybody else have anything else? No. She's not doing her job.
I know it.
So there's that.
So one last thing too, and I guess this was more of a question for the group because maybe there's some history behind it, but Article 9, Section 3, we talk about like all motions must be made in the affirmative.
Yes.
That's, I haven't really seen that elsewhere. What, do we plan to keep that and why?
All of the committees and
In
and
Enfield.
agencies have it in the positive.
Which just for
All just land use or all committees all? Because,
Land use.
okay.
it's been something that has gone back and forth
Right.
a number of times, and the intention of it is that you don't want to disparage any application by giving it a negative upfront. That's why
I can
it gets
explain it a little
confusing,
better.
but
It's confusing on voting.
So there's actually a lot of case law behind
Right.
it. If you make a motion in the negative and then someone seconds it in the affirmative, it's very unclear whether it still passes or if it's striked from the record. The other thing is that you should always make a motion in the affirmative, because that way, if somebody does vote against, it just makes it more clear for the record instead of a lot of confusion. So just for reference, I'm not putting myself down, but when I first started as the wetlands agent, town planner for you guys way back when, like almost 2 years ago, you may have noticed that on my staff report, some of the recommendations were motion to approve, motion to deny, which you can motion to deny. You can do that.
do
It's
it.
just easier if you just make the motion the affirmative. So I'm not going to go into the detail of it, but just Google motion affirmative case law.
Like I said, I had seen some stuff about
Yep.
motion to deny from other committees.
Yeah, some committees might have it, which if they have a whole thing figured out how they want that to be reflected in the record, the minutes, the motion in a way, then it works for them. But for land use commissions, in case they appeal, it's just easier if it's all in the affirmative.
And then when you vote against it, then you have to state why you're voting against it. You just can't say no. You have to say, I vote no because it doesn't meet regulation, blah, 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 or it doesn't.
Yeah, there's different types of motions for different types of applications. Will have different requirements for what has to be stated in the record. For example, one of ours is if there is an application that the commission is approving that has significant activity, you have to state on the record why you're approving it and why you think the activity is not that significant,
Right,
because the court will look at that. So.
yeah.
And if you don't state, it's kind of interesting actually, if you don't state reasons why on the record, the court will come up with their own reasons.
yeah, the whole affirmative, it's
Just easier.
we
supports
spent.
you guys.
There's been a lot of time spent on this commission discussing this. Let me tell you.
Yeah, it helps you more. It helps you. It's just easier.
Yeah, it gets confusing when you do it the other way. Okay. So then, once you type them up and give them to us at the next meeting, then we'll,
Yeah, definitely. And then if you find anything else in the meanwhile, just shoot me an email.
okay? Thank you. Anybody
Oh,
else?
I do actually want to point out something. In Articles 13, 14, and, I'm sorry, 12, 13, and 14, they don't reference section, so I'm just going to add section 1, section 1, section 1, just that way they're all uniform in case you want to add something in the future.
Right,
Okay.
that sounds good. Thanks for that, catching that. Next on the agenda is enforcement reports, and there's no new updates, but I want to add to this, I hope, to our agenda, if everybody will agree. I think under this section, we need to list all the enforcements and keep them on there until they go away.
That will be a lot. You might, I always include updates for you guys. I've never left any update out. It's just that, like LaQuarrie's enforcement would have been on the agenda every year for like, every
Yeah.
meeting for like 2.5 years.
Well, I mean, it's just so we don't lose them. We
I
don't
can-
lose
I-
track
what I-
of them.
what
Every
we-
once in a while, I go pull them out and say, okay, what do we got?
Yeah, what we can do is you guys mentioned a list last time. I can
Mm-hmm.
put together a list, and every time we add to that list, I can give you the new version. Just to
Or
keep
like
the
once a
agenda
month,
short.
yeah.
Give us the last page.
Yeah, or once a month, get an update.
Yeah, absolutely, I can do that.
Like it was opened on January 5th, and, now it's
can all take
September, we haven't
Yeah.
done anything with it, how come? We could say, how come? What are we doing?
I'll have that discussion with the CEO tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be good.
So, yeah, maybe something, and just bringing that up, may be good to mirror like the town attorney report, just like you said, list them,
Yeah.
and then no update, or
No,
Update.
Yeah, something like that,
absolutely.
just so we don't forget it or miss it, or,
Yeah.
like one I drive by all the time, and I see, I wonder what's happening with that. Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Next on our agenda is report of planning staff, 118 Hazard Ave.
So I have a couple of things to report. First, before I go into it too much, letter B, just cross that out because I received the completed application today in the mail. So as of tonight, they are officially received. I think you got copies in your packets, and they'll be heard at the next meeting.
Brainerd
It's
Road?
for detention pond maintenance, nothing too big. And I do want to let you know that the contractors and project managers of the All-American Assisted Living Complex over at 118 Hazard Avenue has reached out to start the wetlands construction process of their project. So the way this works is we usually have a wetlands mitigation meeting with staff to just go over the sequence of events. We meet with their soil scientists, we meet with their contractor, and we go over erosion and sediment controls. We go over the types of seeds they're planting, plants, how they're doing it, what equipment they're using, so forth. Basic wetland stuff. There's been some miscommunication with the contractor and staff, I believe. So at the last meeting we had on August 10th, we met with Landon Kessler, one of the project managers, one of the contractors for the site, and there was a condition where before the construction process, they were to dig test pits prior to any construction. It wasn't really specified in the site plan prior to construction of the project or prior to construction of the wetlands. So they misinterpreted it as prior to the construction of the wetlands. It doesn't hold them back or anything. They just basically are now waiting on their soil science guy to get out there and give us an updated report of those wetland soils to make sure that they're still on track for their project and to make sure that the stormwater is okay and that everything will work properly when they start the process of that. So some of the things that they have to do next is do the monitoring and do the deep test pits. Their wetland soil scientist is to monitor and guide them on site. And once we get a date with their soil scientist, we're going to have a second mitigation meeting with a new updated sheet to show us what they've done on site currently versus what is happening now, because they've done some grading up over on the east side, so it's a little bit higher now. And we just need a more updated sheet to be able to tell them how things are going and what the town's process is for this type of step in the construction project. So we talked to the assistant project manager today on the phone. So he's going to get in touch with the soil scientist, and then we're going to have a second meeting soon.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. And then the other report I have, this was originally on the agenda as an informal discussion for the 93 and 113 Raffier Road solar facility update. However, they decided that they rather seek input from the land use commissions after they've applied to the siting council, because the siting council will automatically send us a thing, as we usually do get. And I did tell them that it might benefit them more to get the feedback early on so they can revise their plans going in instead of revising their plans while they're in, just for time. But they decided not to do that. So they're proposing a solar facility in the back of 93 and 113 Raffia. It's outside of the upland review area. There's a couple of spots that are just in it, probably about like 10 feet or so. But once I get that application from the siting council, you'll receive the full report.
Thank you.
And that's it.
Okay, now, new applications to be received, DPN 2022-815, 37 Gordon Ave, application for an in-ground pool in the upland review area of a subdivision with surrounding wetlands. Nadia Wright of Juliana Pools, applicant Patrick W. O'Connor, owner, map 20, lot 14. Is this for a determination of need, or are we gonna?
This is a determination of permit needed. So I'm a little rusty on these, and when I was talking to staff, no matter what we have that comes through the Wetlands Commission, we'll always have that review period. So you have 14 days to decide, just look everything over, decide if a permit is needed or not. This one was a little bit tricky because if you look on the GIS where the wetlands are and where the upland review area is compared to where they want to place the pool, it's a historic wetland. It's built in a subdivision before the Wetlands and Watercourses Act came out in 1972. So I was iffy, so I told them to apply for a DPN just to run it by the commission to see what everyone thought, if you wanted to have them come in for a permit, or if agent approval is fine, or if a permit is not needed.
Okay, sounds good. Next was IW 664, 18 Mullen Road, application for the expansion of the outdoor storage in the upland review area, CML Realty LLC owners, map 16, lot 51. Is this going to be?
So this one was originally the application that withdrew. They received a zoning violation on 36 Mullen, so it kind of tied them up with moving forward with the proposed culvert and road crossing. So in the interest of time by the applicant, they've decided to withdraw the application and just propose outdoor storage expansion on 18 Mullen Road. So it's a lot of upland review area impact, nothing in the wetlands, and they're proposing a couple of detention ponds and a front yard buffer of 50 feet where some wetlands are, but it's just plantings and buffering.
They're not putting a driveway in?
No,
That's not part of the plan?
no, it's just the expansion of the outdoor storage area. It's just paving and
I thought I
millings.
looked at it and saw one. Sorry about
No, you're
that.
fine. That would have been mentioned in the description for you. It's just the paving and the millings, the detention ponds, and the buffer.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. So we probably don't need a public hearing, it's not,
Yeah.
okay, good. Next is IW 665, 274, 284, and 242 Brainerd Road. Application for a wetland permit for the development of 42-unit multifamily housing with single detached homes. Washington Associates and Enfield LLC applicant, Washington Associates of Enfield LLC, and Anthony Troiano Jr. and John Petronella. Maps and lots 62-319, 7767, and 7768 R44 zone. I was thinking about this and about being a public hearing, but there's little minimal impact to wetlands. I mean, there's just a little bit of wetlands. I don't know what everybody
Yeah.
else thinks.
I think like one house is totally in it and the rest are just close to it.
Yeah, so I didn't
It's up to you.
let's see what everybody's thought was.
There's other criteria you can use for determining a public hearing, but ultimately the decision is yours.
Right. So, I don't know what people think on that one, but it was kind of minimal.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody's fine with that?
Yeah.
And we
Okay.
can always put any conditions
Oh,
if we
yeah.
have any concerns, but I doubt that we will.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes,
There were 3 other applications I received today via email. I just want to read into the record. The one being the incomplete application that was referenced earlier, that is now complete. That is under IW 666, 327 Brainerd Road, application for a wetlands permit for maintenance of a detention pond. Betty Jo O'Brien, applicant, Ashmead Commons Condo Association owner, map 77, lot 58, R33 zone. Letter E, XIW 667, Cranbrook Boulevard, application for wetlands permit for a road improvement project, Town of Enfield applicant owner. F, XAAA 127, Cheryl Drive, Edmund Lane, Moody Road, Stephen Drive, agent approval application for roadway improvements in the upland review area, Town of Enfield applicant owner. And that is all I received. The town applications were emailed to me on Friday, so they were not included in the packet. It's a standard roadway project. There's not really much that, there's not much I have to give right now. They're supposed to bring me physical copies, and once I get those physical copies, I will email you so you have them ahead of time to look at them, and I'll also include them in your packet. And just as a reminder, if you feel like you need more time looking at the physical copies, you do have 65 days to approve or deny an application.
thank you. So I think that's it. Does anybody have anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned, it's 8:03.